Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolve with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And we are back after 2 weeks off. We've been busy working and traveling and having family shenanigans, and it's great to be back live. Alex, how are you?
Good. A little bit, been a little bit under the weather, but I'm
here and
so,
on the back end of it now. Hopefully, we can cheer you up with a little bit of nerd culture conversation. Jaren, how are you?
Doing good. Happy to be back. Was traveling for a week and happy to be back in. It's nice here. Soccer or football for you, Andy. Football season for the kids, and so nice busy weekend.
Excellent. Ours has all been rained off this weekend. It's been so wet over here, down in where I am. It's been too wet. There was puddles on our pitches yesterday, so we couldn't play this weekend, I'm afraid. But hopefully the weather is turning now with spring. We have got today. We're going to be talking about a couple of episodes of Mandalorian season 3. We're going to be catching up on all sorts of news. I think we've got news from all around the comic space, Jaren. Am I right in saying that?
Yep.
Excellent. And we're going to be talking about Young Avengers, the Children's Crusade. So we've had a reread of that over the last 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks off where we had last week. We weren't live, so we had 2 weeks to read Children's Crusade. I know we've all read it before, but I reread it. Just finished reading the last few pages about an hour ago, so I really enjoyed it again. But I think what we'll do is we'll get stuck straight into that conversation now, and then go news, and then go Mando. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Excellent. So, Children's Crusade. I read it for the first time at least probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I get mixed up with COVID. It seems like a year ago was pre-COVID, but it wasn't. It was like 3 years ago now, isn't it? So I probably read it about 4 years ago for the first time, and I really enjoyed it then. But I think I enjoyed it more this time round, especially with all the Iron Lad stuff that was going on in there, and the Kang sort of snippets and the little bits of him and the time travel stuff. It became very relevant to the MCU. But Alan Heinberg, I think, done a great job of tying in lots of loose ends from different storylines. Obviously it picks up from Avengers Disassembled, and it picks up from obviously the Young Avengers first few storylines. It plays on Kang as well, which obviously has a big part in the Avengers. And
House of M.
Yeah, House of M. Thank you. Yeah, the House of M. So there's so many. Well, there's quite a few different little pieces that come in. He does a great job, but while also still, I think, sticking to the essence of Young Avengers, which is that kind of, finding out who you are and finding out what kind of person you want to be in this world, and it's got that teen angst part to it, hasn't it? And he looks at these stories that have been in Marvel for 10 years plus, and still manages to keep it very relevant to the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the story kit. I don't know if anybody that's listening, if you're listening and you're watching, drop us a comment, just say hi. If you've got any comments that you want to bring on about any of the things we talk about tonight, please do. Remember to let us know who you are, because some of the platforms we don't see your name pop up. So in Children's Crusade starts off with our Young Avengers saving the day, and Wiccan being a bit overzealous with his powers, I guess, maybe. And then sort of Avengers are saying, well, hold on a minute, is this guy, it's a repeat of the Wanda situation.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Wanda 2.0 in essence,
Yeah, they don't trust something the same's going to happen, and this story takes you for a ride because we find out there were some ulterior things going on in the background.
Yeah, do you know what? I'd forgotten about that. You're talking about Doom, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, right at the end when he says that he was kind of responsible for all these different things that had gone on, I'd forgot that that was the case, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I forgot." He sort of said, "Yeah, it was me all along," sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was
From
me
from
pulling the strings.
from him putting the Doom bot in Tunisia to think it was, or Tunisia to think it was Scarlet Witch there, to him, knowing the whole time what happened, but not telling her, and her thinking that she's in love with him, getting ready to marry him, that kind of stuff, and then all along, it's almost like the Agatha all along moments in WandaVision. It was Doom all along, and it was funny because one of the Avengers, I think it was Captain America, that made a comment, this is the not so secret war, again. So
Yeah,
leading to,
Mhm.
be that they're off the heels of the secret war with, Doom getting the Beyonder powers and that kind of stuff. And now it's all over again, but instead of being a secret, it's out there in front. And Doom has like, life
the life
illumination
force. Yeah,
powers, life force
Mhm.
powers in this one. So yeah,
Mhm.
it seems always like Doom's always, have some ulterior motives going on.
Well, and Doom actually says at one point too, when the Young Avengers take Wanda, he's like, "Great, look at what you've done. You've let the greatest weapon like out there just slip away. Like, look at
Yep.
what you've done." And it's like, all right, well, there's Doom's whole plan this whole time,
yeah.
like just in a sentence, like
It is funny
so.
though because you say that though, like for the first sort of few chapters, you're kind of reading this going, "Oh, has Doom turned a new leaf? Like, is he? He's not a good guy, but is he?
Never.
Is he sort of? Is he? He really loves Wanda. Like, he really wants to just settle down and have a wife. And then you kind of, as it goes on, he
Wild
starts
card.
saying, yeah,
Wild card.
he starts saying a few things, and you're like, there he is.
Yep. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
interesting too because this story could really translate into the MCU as well. Not like for like, right? There's not mutants yet. We know Cap's gone, Tony's gone. We haven't seen Beast yet in the MCU, mutants, all that kind of stuff. But as far as the core Young Avengers team, they're all introduced now in the MCU, right? So we could do this story off the heels of Civil, because think about the tone of this story, right? We've had Civil War, which was about Wanda and her powers that happened when they went in that first mission with Crossbones and the bomb. Then we had the whole WandaVision thing after Vision's death in the MCU and the fallout of the Infinity Saga. And then now we have Multiverse of Madness, which kind of leads up to Scarlet Witch, trying to get her boys back, which, kind of tones in this story and so forth. So we have that buildup in the MCU where they could kind of start off where um, I keep saying this too. This would be the greatest scene ever in the MCU if we saw Doom rolling up to Mount Wundagore, getting Wanda, have her draped across the bear, and taking her back to Latveria to kind of manipulate her and that kind of stuff. And then we have, what's coming up with Agatha House of Harkness. Supposedly the boys are back. Yeah, we know that her brother Pietro's dead in the MCU, and they did a little play on WandaVision, but they could do similar tones of this story and make it a Victor Von Doom centric story of him trying to get some powers and so forth, and possibly even Iron Lad pop up as well as part of that Young Avengers team to kind of lead him on that path to become King the Conqueror. They could also even use Doctor Strange as a surrogate in the story for Doom, possibly, maybe after what happened, maybe Wong, but even have America Chavez joining on the team as well. So there's some ways they could, readapt the story for the MCU is what we've seen so far.
And I also think the story has kind of two kind of interesting things as well. And one of them is like the time travel aspect of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
with the time travel stuff that's happening right now, it would play in very well with that. The
Yep.
other part I really like about this story is, and this is something I felt like the MCU was going to do with Scott Lang getting stuck in the quantum realm, was you actually see the Avengers are talking about how, like, Scott Lang has died. And then when they go back to the past, they bring Scott Lang to the future. So it's almost like, did Scott Lang actually die that day? Or was it the fact that they went back in time and pulled him to the future and he's only been gone all this time
Mm.
because he was brought from that point in time to the future? So they thought he died like in the explosion, but he's not dead, you
I
know?
still think that they're in an alternate timeline. I think that when Janet came back to save Scott,
Hmm.
I think that Cassie and the Pims, Janet and Hank, are in present day. I think
Hmm.
Scott and Hope, when they went back through, I think there's some trickery going on there that King might have played. That they're actually in
Hmm.
either alternate timeline or stuck in some kind of time loop, and
Hmm.
I think we'll see that coming up.
So you see this weird little switch though in this story where you get Scott Lang back, but you lose Cassie at the end of the story. You know, so it's like this weird flip where it's like you have Cassie in the beginning, but we don't have Scott, and then we get the reverse. It's interesting.
I think that whole time travel thing that you was talking about there, Alex, especially with Iron Lad involved, is really interesting because of that. The whole Iron Lad, his whole purpose is to not turn into Kang.
Exactly.
But there's some great moments in there where, you know, everything that he does, it is leading him to turn into Kang. Like it's inevitable, isn't it? And he's fighting against all of these things, but actually it's always going to happen.
Yeah, he thinks that he can use time to fix things, which is King the Conqueror's, you know, whole idea there. And then because the Vision steps out of line, tries to stop him, which he helped them rebuild Vision from future tech, he ends up killing the Vision, you know, in his anger of Cassie dying and going back into the time stream.
Yeah, that is typical of him, isn't it? It's like, you know, Vision says that to him, doesn't he? He says you can't just fix things by going through time. Like that's what Kang does, and that's where he gets so annoyed. And you're like, you're literally becoming Kang now. Like this is it. This is you doing it. You know, and that leads back into that only myself left the conquer storyline, the Kang storyline, where it's from Iron Lad's perspective. And he's trying to do everything to stop himself from turning into Kang, but he just does. It's such a great story, and you can see elements of that in this.
Well, and with Kang, you have this like nature versus nurture kind of argument going on, where it's like either in like Nathaniel Richards', you know, nature to be this way always, and he'll never be able to escape that, or like maybe like him surrounding himself with the right people. Maybe a young Nathaniel Richards could change that, but you know, like it's almost like he's going right back to the same trajectory as, you know, Kang. So, and I think he said that in that story that you were just talking about, Only Myself Left to Conquer. He's like, you are inevitably always going to be me. Like, you know, like you cannot escape this. Like,
a couple of things in the chat here. Darth Gorycorn from Twitch. I'll be honest, the multiverse is kind of burning me, and a lot of people I've talked to out. It's getting to the point things are spread too thin. Yeah, it could be, and that's why Marvel kind of, you know, are tweaking the schedule, spreading things out, you know, focusing more on quality than quantity, even though I don't think quality was the biggest issue out there, other than some, you know, VFX stuff. So yeah, something to keep an eye on as this saga moves forward.
Yeah, I think that I think actually you just made a good point there. I don't think that I think a lot of the stuff was good. I just do think there was too much of it. No, there wasn't too much of it for me. There probably wasn't too much of it for us, but there was probably too much of it for a lot of regular fans.
I feel like a counter argument could be made for that though, because like look at like Multiverse of Madness. Like this is the Multiverse of Madness, yet we really only see one universe, and that's the 838. Like, you know, other than their main 616, the other ones are like, hey, they fell through these really fast, and you see them like in a highlight reel real quick as they fall through universes. But then it only really takes place in two universes. So is it really the Multiverse of Madness, or is it the Universes of Madness? You know, it's kind of like a weird, like, I don't think we got enough. We only see Gore kill one god on screen, you know, and Love and Thunder, but yet like he's Gore the God Butcher. He should kill multiple gods. It's kind of like we should get more and more, I feel like, in some instances.
Yeah, I definitely think they could have tweaked some things and made things a little better, but I still don't think that we've gotten too much. You know, I'm loving it, you know, because that's more stuff for us to talk about, more stuff to theorize on, that kind of stuff, and more stuff to enjoy. So, but there is a fine line. We have a question here though, which we haven't touched this, but since we're talking about Kang, hello, not sure if this has been explained yet. I just joined the discussion a minute ago. What do you guys think is going to happen when the end credit scene in which Loki is in the past and one of the Kang variants is on it? Do you guys think this would play on Loki season 2? Which, yeah, so the variant was Victor Timely, and, you know, it seems like he's kind of the one that's going to be going through and setting things up. He'll probably be the one to start off doing the whole technology and, you know, collecting things throughout his time, and maybe even the reason why the TVA could be even started. There's been talk that scene may not even be part of Loki season 2, that scene might be part of the next, you know, movie like in King Dynasty, so interesting to see where that lines up, because of where they talked about that scene actually happening.
I
happening.
actually think it would be really, really interesting if they chose to do Victor Timely is eventually the person who becomes He Who Remains and is sitting at the Citadel at the end of time in the void or whatever. And I think it would be like an awesome little kind of like bow if they did that, where it's like, Victor Timely it's just another persona of Kang,
Yep.
it's just somebody else. And like he talks about he's been doing this for a long time, maybe that was his jumping off point to where he got outside of the multiverse, was as Victor Timely in the past.
Yeah, I think that could be a good option there, Alex.
So another one real quick too before we move on. The other problem I've run into that a lot of people I've talked to said is a huge one. That being for every bit of toxic masculinity, they get rid of, they seem to replace it with toxic femininity. In the end, I use air quotes because no people have the same definition of it. So, and I think we'll probably address some of that when we get to our episode coming up, when we talk about the tone and shift and things in the MCU, and we have some previous guests back on to kind of address that. So we'll probably save that one for that one. So Darth Corn, come back when we have that discussion, and we'll definitely address that then.
Yeah, sure, because I think that's a really big conversation, and a conversation that we want to have a very specific episode for. So yeah, I don't think that could be solved not solved. I don't think it'd be discussed in a couple of minutes. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one. Come back to that one.
He followed up real quick. I love comic books, and that is what that's why I say this. I don't want toxicity to kill it on either end. We all agree with that too, as well. Yeah, so
totally,
100% agree.
Back to Children's Crusade. The point of us being here today. Doom and Wanda, that relationship there. Do we think that could be a relationship that we see in the MCU, but a relationship that could genuinely happen?
I want to see it. Like I said, I want to see him saving her and riding up on the bear and that kind of stuff. And that would be a perfect jumping off point from Multiverse of Madness to go with this. And then especially with the events of Wanda, where it seems like we're going to get Billy back in that one, and possibly Tommy as well, to where, they're actually in this universe and not magic. But with her going through the whole thing with the Darkhold, the Multiverse of Madness, and all that stuff, and then destroying that, then maybe she does have amnesia. She doesn't remember them, and instead of her being the cause of no more mutants like she is in this, and lead into this story, that she's the her guilt and her all that kind of stuff and amnesia is from what happened in Multiverse of Madness and killing all the sorcerers that we saw with Doctor Strange and Wong and them, but also too, traumatizing and causing the problem with another universe. I think they could play that into the story instead of the mutants angle of it.
I'm going to go against the grain a little bit here. I don't think that they're going to do the Doom thing with Wanda, to be honest. I think that they're going to probably hold on to Vision with Wanda. You're going to have Vision go off, find himself, show back up, and find Wanda with amnesia, and it's going to be the reverse situation where he didn't know who he was. Now he's found himself, but now she doesn't know who she is, and he needs to help her find herself. And you're going to see them kind of build on that. I think a lot of people have that attachment between Wanda and Vision in the MCU now.
Yeah.
And I think that attachment's been built over so many movies, all the way back to Age of Ultron. And it's been such a large part that fans aren't going to just be like, oh, Doom and Wanda, I love it. We love Doom, but I just don't think that it would be as well received as Vision and Wanda, because it's we just had WandaVision, and that whole show was about those two, and Wanda, trying to create a world for them,
But look at the theme of Multiverse of Madness, though. She really didn't care about Vision at all in that film. It was always about the kids, not Vision at all. So it seems like she's moved on from Vision. And they could play it like the same way they do the comics, where it's Vision and now Cassie kind of somehow, Cassie ends up finding Vision, and we get some of that play, and it's Cassie and Vision, so he's kind of moved on. But I could see it, but it wouldn't be as exciting as Doom and Wanda.
But all of Wanda's previous traumas always lead her to get more powerful in the MCU. I mean, when she loses her brother, she has a little power freak out and, has an outburst of power. When she loses Vision and she kills Vision, she's extremely upset, but she does that the first time before Thanos reverses it. she like has Westview happen, that's a result of a freak out. Every time she like has a little bit of like a freak out, she loses her power. Every trauma kind of leads to the next trauma. She created her kids out of the trauma of losing vision, trying to create a life with vision, so it's kind of like everything that she does always kind of snowballs and gets bigger and gets worse, trying to make it better.
Yeah, but go ahead, Andy.
No, I was going to say I think I do agree with you, Alex. I don't know whether they will go down a Doom route with Wanda. However, I would like them to. But I think maybe if they did, they might. I think I've said this before, that Wanda could be the Molecule Man surrogate in Secret Wars.
Definitely.
So Doom could be using an amnesiac Wanda to control the multiverse, and maybe he's kind of promised her her children back, because in the Children's Crusade, she goes to him after she loses her children in the first instance, before House of M, to help to get him. That's revealed, isn't it? At the end of this story, it's revealed that she went to him to ask him to help her get her children back, to use his magic. So it'd be a nice way to sort of tie all that together.
But the thing is, though, they need to start putting Wanda on the redeeming path. And it looks like by the end of Children's Crusade, she's on that redeeming path.
She is.
And I think the end of the MCU, because everything we've seen, other than Ultron, because even her being into the MCU, she was on the villain path, right? She had that moment in Ultron, where she turned sides with Hawkeye, talking to them and helping them out in that battle and so forth. But then the next time we see Wanda in a movie, it's in Civil War. And guess what? She's back on sort of the wrong side of the, I guess you could, well, depending on what view you're on, but she's seen as a bad person in that. Then we get into the whole thing with Infinity War. She's kind of back on the good side, helping because she kind of has to, but they've kind of gone off the grid because they want to live their own life. They don't want to be in that side of things. Then, we kind of see her on the battlefield almost take out Thanos. But then after that, we see her back on the bad side of things as well. So it seems like so far in the MCU, they've kind of have that yo-yo with her, but mainly on the bad side. I think they kind of need to start putting her more on the redeeming side, especially after the events of Multiverse of Madness. Well,
I mean, her and Vision were on the run in Infinity War because they didn't want to, do what the Avengers wanted them to do and everything. And, they were on the run. I mean, the thing is like Tony once called her like a weapon of mass destruction and said that they don't give visas to weapons of mass destruction. And, Captain America responded and was like, she's just a kid. But the thing is like, look at Westview, like she ends that. What does she do? She doesn't like, suddenly rethink her action. She doubles down and then, uses the Darkhold to then try and get what she created for herself that was like never real actually, but then tries to get it again anyways.
Do you think, like as you said, Alex, like you said, every time there's a trauma, do you reckon she might be the cause of an incursion?
I think she would be.
Her getting her kids,
definitely
bringing them in from somewhere else.
Well, I mean, like she can basically change the 616 universe. So like she can in essence make the 616 basically badly like clash with another universe in essence, I think then, potentially.
If they don't introduce Doom, could you see Kang being that person and King trying to manipulate her, knowing that she's probably the biggest threat to Kang?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the Kang thing's going to fit in with her.
I mean, I think with the TVA having the no magic being able to work in there, I think that's really interesting. Does chaos magic, like, is that kind of the one thing that's like negates that? Like, can he not control that? It seems like chaos magic is the one type of magic that goes against the fold for all the other stuff. You don't really need like a coven. You don't need like any formal practice or anything like that to actually do it. You don't need to know spells. It's just like a natural kind of type thing. So who knows? Maybe it's like a different ability. Maybe it's something Kang can't stop.
A couple of things here from the chat from Darth Coin again. Why not a soul split with Wanda? It would give good room to write stories around while also placing inner conflict she has to handle. And to finish that up, and conflict can equal better personal growth and actual healing can sometimes. So that's actually good input there.
Yeah, that last little comment there, about the conflict can equal better personal growth. It's like wars, isn't it? Like wars, out of war comes a lot of advancement in the end, and it's the same, with conflict and with personal battles. Often you grow more out of those than you do out of things being easy. So yeah, I get your point there. But yeah, a soul split thing, as in. What do you think?
Two Wandas, maybe, or
yeah.
yeah.
Explain what you mean by that a little bit better, Darth Goricon.
I'm also wondering if that's like a Shards of Mephisto reference with the kids or
Okay.
something. Like maybe
Okay,
that's what he's talking about. I'm not sure.
Potentially, yeah, maybe. If you're still there, drop us an elaboration on the soul split.
Oh, here we go. He's here. Looks like the soul splits in town, and the other side of the soul take over a host.
Oh, the soul splits in two.
Oh, two. Yeah, sorry, two. Yeah, he followed.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, so a little bit like what she actually did that in Multiverse of Madness, didn't she? Is that what he means, or was that the dream casting? Was that called dream?
The dream walking. Yeah,
dream walking. Yeah. No, that's not what he means then, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. So the whole splits in two, and the other side of the soul takes over a host. A host of who? Who could she take over?
Well, maybe she took over another Wanda, like she did with the dream walking. So
or
yeah.
What if something else takes over her, like Chthon?
Yep,
like
Chthon.
Like he's like a split host with Wanda now, and that's something that I would love to see, which is like Wanda's still herself, but she slowly starts acting a little bit not like herself, and we see that, and then like you realize that she's not Wanda one day, and she's like, I'm actually Chthon.
Nope, you're breaking up there a little bit, Alex.
Where's that claws into her just to work control.
You're back. You was going and and now you're back again, Alex. We kind of got you. We kind of got most of you. We got the gist of it. We got the gist of it.
He follows up by saying, anyone, and that could be the danger that split the soul holds. Because I like Alex's point too about maybe it's Chthon, because we never really got a full answer in WandaVision with Agatha and everything, what she was doing and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully there'll be some more breadcrumbs to that as Covenant Chaos goes out, because there's got to be some more ties, whether it's Chthon, Lilith, Mephisto, whoever. There's got to be something more there than what we saw in WandaVision.
Yeah, and they could do a lot of that in Agatha.
Mm-hmm.
They could swerve Chthon and merge Mephisto and Chthon and make them kind of like one being in the MCU, and just make chaos magic come from Mephisto. And I think that would kind of tie Mephisto to a lot more here. And
that's good. That's easy, isn't it, as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's more fluid.
Yeah.
And with the Shards of Mephisto story that we have, where the children are shards of Mephisto, I think it fits really well too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. That does fit nicely, actually. And if it was all if that was explained a little bit in Agatha as well, that would roll in even easier, wouldn't it? Yeah, very good.
So back on the Childrens Crusade here, there's something I noticed that I haven't noticed before, and I read this story a couple times. So if you haven't read it, there are actually 9 issues of the Childrens Crusade, but it's actually a 10-story one. So you go 1 through 4, and then you go to the 5th one, which is actually a Young Avengers story, where they kind of bring Iron Lad in, and then it goes the 5 through it's 1 through 4. It's the Young Avengers issue with Iron Lad, and then it goes through the 5 through 9. So it's actually a 10-issue run if you're reading it. So if you have Marvel Unlimited, it's there. But one thing I didn't really catch before is that there's a nice little Inhumans Easter egg in this story. So you see them talk about they were trying to use the Terrigen crystals to get X-Men's powers back, it didn't work on some, and it made some explode. So that was a nice little nugget in there. They don't really go too much into it, but I was like, oh, I never even thought about that before, and it didn't even see that connection when I read that before. So
yeah, that's when they're trying to find mutants to for Wanda to sort of practice getting their powers back on.
Yep.
I think the landscape is a really interesting thing in this story, because you notice that, like, the X-Men, the Avengers, the Young Avengers, everybody's like against everyone. And these are all heroes that are all like kind of like, we don't agree with what you're doing right now, stop. And like for mutants and the X-Men, it's like, we want to try and figure out what's wrong with the mutants and fix it ourselves. We don't need other people coming in telling us like how to fix it, because we don't know if you have the best intentions to do for us,
what. And it's fun. It's funny, X Factor. Oh, go ahead.
No,
You're
go
fine.
for it.
Nope.
No,
you...
I insist.
All right,
Joe.
all right. And also, it's the X Factor who are in here as well. They're like, yeah, come on, test us out. We'll be guinea pigs. We want our powers back. Yeah. I know you're going to say two out of the same thinking, Andy, but go ahead and you're going to go on Scott Summers.
I was going to say Scott Summers is a dick in this.
As
well.
usual.
Yes. I cannot
As
stand
usual.
Scott Summers. God.
But you know, is that not that's perfect though, isn't it? That's exactly what you want. I mean, the fact that it elicits that kind of feeling, like, that's brilliant. What a well-written character, you know. That's great. It's always great, isn't it, when you get a person in a movie, an actor in a movie, oh, I hate that person. Brilliant, well done. Like the writer's probably sitting there like patting himself on the back saying, good, I'm glad you hated this person. That was the idea. But yeah, Scott is such a dick in this. It's unbelievable. Like every now and again he says something and you're like, oh no, he's all right, and then he does something and you go, no, he's not.
I like how he gets called out though. He's like, everyone's done something bad, including you guys. We've been taken over. We have these problems. You guys just forgive that, blah blah blah. But her, why not? But not her. And he kind of stands down, you know, and things get resolved. Yeah. Wiccan does that. But like, I was so happy that he got called out, and he's like, this is not right. You do this across the board. You know, you've all done this. We've all done this, and you know that I'm surprised they didn't bring up Dark Phoenix in here at all. You know, with Scott and Jean, that kind of stuff. I'm surprised they didn't actually say that when he was going off on him about that.
Yeah. That's great. That little moment there. Wiccan has his little speech moment, doesn't he? Where he like you said, he calls everybody out and he says that they've given all these different people second chances, and you know, Emma Frost, and you know, the fact that this Magneto's now an X-Man and all of this. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that little moment. It's sort of a little bit of there's a little bit of growth there from Wiccan, a little bit of maturity from him. You know, so to be honest, that's probably the first time he's actually shown maturity in that whole story, which is the point. You know, he's only a teenager, he's only a child, Childrens Crusade, but he actually grows up a little bit in that moment, and it's quite logical. Where I think the rest of the time he's been very emotional, which makes sense. Again, like I said, he's a child, but yeah, very very logical in that moment.
Some more from the chat here. Her split soul could be enemy right next to you. So back to what he was saying earlier, Darth Gorkhorn. He also goes on to say, the writers say that about input, but I'm to the point. I don't trust half the writers and their goals at this point after so many bad comics I've read. Sometimes fan input is more valuable than they want to realize. So that's fair too, you know? So
I think there's a lot of listening to fans these days though, aren't there? I think that's where a lot of these, you know, they'll stick a trailer out, or they'll stick a poster out, or a rumor, or they'll a quote unquote leak, and then you know, they're all over the place. They've got spies everywhere.
I mean, look at Sonic. They completely changed the CGI of that movie. Fans,
yeah,
you know, like, you know, they complained so much that they were just like, all right, we'll change it. We listen to you. You know, like, you're right. I mean, like
Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut.
That was all fan stuff. So yeah, at times they do it, and we'll see. They're not gonna bring back the Snyderverse. You're not gonna get the other cuts of Suicide Squad, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, you know, you just have to take it as it is.
Yeah.
Did you also notice too that by the end of this, the Young Avengers all kind of split up?
Yeah.
Whether it's because it's guilt, or it's, you know, they're just done. You know, they didn't do the right things, that kind of stuff. They're all judging themselves. And it was funny too is that, you know, was it the Avengers or the X? I think it was the Avengers that said this. I think Captain America said this, or maybe Doom said this. You all did the right thing and were, you know, thinking about doing the right things for everybody else instead of doing the wrong things, which some of the other teams did. And I can't remember who said it. Was a line in there about that.
Yeah, it was Cap.
Okay, it was Cap. But then you notice in the end, the Avengers came back and needed them and actually made them Avengers by the end of the story.
Yeah, I think that was also typical though of their age. I think at the end of the story, they all just give up.
Yeah.
You know, don't get me wrong. I know that teams disband when they're not young, but you know, it's like, oh, they were very forlorn, weren't they? And kind of, we're all rubbish. Let's give up.
It's not. Well, it's not just giving up and that kind of stuff. It's just that, did they do the right things, or are they on the right side of what they were trying to do? Look at the end of Civil War, for example, the message between Cap and Tony, and then, you know, Cap is not there the whole time during Infinity War when that kind of happens, when he lost the kid and that kind of stuff. Well, Tony doesn't know that because Tony's off world, and he's like, you said you would be there, you wouldn't. So even adults doubt themselves, and do those kind of things.
I think that this Young Avengers team, though, already had some kind of doubts about itself. I mean, you have Eli Bradley at one point. He's talking to, I think it's Kate Bishop, and he's
Yeah.
like talking about how he should be the leader because how he doesn't agree with kind of what's going on here. Had he would have been in charge, they wouldn't be on this weird path that they seem to be diverted on now. And I mean, he so much as even kind of goes against the fray to like, throw something at Wanda when she's like doing the spell to try and stop it. I think he grabs one of Kate's arrows and throws it at her.
Exploding arrow.
Yep, and that's what causes Doom to get the powers ultimately, is because of what he does, because it kind of disrupts the spell a little bit. And I mean, like, you kind of have, it's like everybody's kind of a team, but they're not working as well as the Avengers do, I think.
Yeah. No, and they're not going to, because again, they're kids,
young,
but they're learning. They're learning. There's that great little in the middle though, where it jumps forward in time, and it shows you them as older Avengers, as the Avengers, and that it's amazing what the writing can do, because they just instantly feel like they're more, mature and more switched on, just in a few panels. But and Wiccan looks, he's the Sorcerer Supreme, isn't he? He's dressed like Dr. Strange. But do you know what though? Overall, I really enjoyed this story. I think it's good. I think it's a really great story. And like I said at the beginning, I like how it brings together a lot of elements from a lot of big storylines over the last it was 2015, no, 2012, wasn't it? This 2010, 2012, something like that. I'm sure it was. But it brought some big storylines together. Like we said, House of M, Avengers Disassembled, the Young Avengers stuff. Some more Doom stuff. Secret Wars that played on that a little bit as well. So yeah, I thought it's a really great story. This one, I really liked it.
Yeah, and then you also notice one thing, picking up Sorcerer Supreme, where Billy didn't really lose his powers. He just made to think by doing what he did. He's like, I couldn't do it. The Sorcerer Supreme couldn't do it. No one can make you lose your powers. I just made you think they were gone, so you stopped using them.
And Doom just literally is just like, you don't have your powers anymore. He's like, oh great, I guess I don't have them anymore. It's like that's how Doom is, I guess. Like Doom's just that type of person.
But that's almost like kids, isn't it? Like he's tricked the kid. That's like you can tell a kid. I could tell one of my sons something. No, sorry, we've not got any money for takeout pizza this week.
Well, yeah, and I feel like in that moment too, Doom already knows he's probably already so overwhelmed by all the stuff going on with Wanda, and Wanda being like his actual real mother and stuff like that.
Anything.
Yeah, that like it's kind of like anything is just going to overload him anyways.
Yeah.
So just like him just telling him that, it's just adding fuel to the fire in essence.
Totally,
it's what Doom does.
So
that is exactly that's the saying. That's just what Doom does.
So when do you think we'll see Iron Lad in the MCU? Because I don't think we saw him in the post-credit scene of Quantumania. The big three we saw was Immortus, Ramatut, and Scarlet Centurion. So, and we've seen Victor Timely, we've seen Mr. Griffon, we've seen a lot of variants in there. We've seen the Conqueror variant. I just wonder if they're ever going to show us Iron Lad in the MCU.
Yeah, that's hard. Honestly, I feel like if we do see an Iron Lad, it has to be like a younger version of Kang. Like it can't be like Jonathan Richards. It almost has to be like, and I want them to do it in like a way to where like suddenly we as fans are like, oh, this has to be like a young Kang, because like it's just setting it up to where like he's like, hey, my name is Nathaniel Richards, like I want to be a part of the Young Avengers or something, and us as fans are like, oh yes, like we know exactly where this is going. And then it turns out that maybe he's just like a 16-year-old Kang from the future that just ended up displaced from an incursion or something and wants to be a Young Avenger or something. And
I think we'll get a Young Avengers series.
I hope we do.
I think we'll get a series. I really do. Between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But then who knows? There's so much shifting going on at the minute. There's a lot of stuff going on. I dare say there'll be something in the news about some of the shifting around that's happening on at Marvel. So yeah, we'll see.
if they did like a Secret Wars event and they created something like, we'll say like a battle world, and we had like a phase in just like this new world that was created before everything was reset. We had teams doing stuff and everything like that. And it was just like this massive just phase. Like we'll say phase 6 was like that. I think it would be like the most interesting thing in the world, because then you could like create like all these new stories for just one phase and then just cut them right at the end and be like, all right, none of that exists now or matters.
That's kind of what they did anyway, wasn't it? They kind of just went, we're just going to throw everything in there. And then at the end, we go, this is now what it is.
Do you think they could do something like that without introducing mutants, or mutants important for them to do that?
I feel like mutants are going to be something. I just feel like if we see really mutants at all through the rest of the stuff with Kang, it's going to be just like a very light, like tip of the spear kind of type thing. We're probably not going to really get like, we'll get like Wolverine and stuff probably as like Hugh Jackman and stuff, like, but I don't think we're going to see like the full force X-Men and stuff until after like they're done with Kang, which is I'm guessing probably phase 6, is when they'll probably go into it.
I think we might get a little teaser of it, but we won't see, like you said, we won't see it. Like we might even get a little teaser of mutants that exist in another universe, but not we won't get a movie or a show or anything like that until after Secret Wars, I don't think.
Okay. It's a weird swerve for them to be like, hey, like we know y'all want mutants in the MCU, but we're bringing back the X-Men 97 cartoon. You know, to me, like I feel like that's kind of them being like, you're gonna get your X-Men at some point, but in the meantime, here's something that you all love.
It's like a pacifier.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
From the chat here, I want to see a good time shift event, like if the Earth went through a wormhole and rewinded time, however long it would take to reset things would be a good idea. That's actually really good, interesting.
That's basically what Secret Wars is going to be, I think.
Yeah. And then it looks like add in a few people with the fragmented memories of the prior time, and things could work in entirely different directions. Yep.
And a little bit House of M. Where there was a couple of people that remembered what life was like, when she before she created this new world, wasn't it?
I think Wolverine was one, right?
Yeah, he was. Yep.
And there was like a girl somewhere, wasn't there? And was Jessica Drew one or Jessica Jones one? Maybe I can't remember. I'm not sure. But yeah, there was only a couple of people. But yeah, that's another good idea. But again, the same as Secret Wars.
Yep.
If Secret Wars comic, there was the people that were on the two rafts. So there was the Maker and his lot, Thanos and his lot, and then Mr. Fantastic and his lot. And there was those three factions, weren't they? Who remembered that this wasn't right. So yeah, that is you've told us Secret Wars there, Darth Goricon. Well done.
So since you mentioned the news, do you want to transition into the news before we get into the Mandalorian?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's start off. Disney Plus shows. A lot have been switched to coming soon. So if you actually go on the Disney Plus app or on the website, you see that all the ones that had dates or whenever, they're all been switched to coming soon. Secret Invasion is in June though, and Loki would potentially be in later. And I'll get to Secret Invasion in a little bit for news. So, reportedly 5 Disney Plus series that originally scheduled for 2023 have now been narrowed to 3 or 4. This doesn't include animated projects. So,
right,
something to keep an eye on. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think, do you know what? I think this streamlining and this thinning out, and again, I like the fact that there's loads of stuff, but maybe it is causing people to be like, oh, another thing. It's just like, oh, another thing and another thing. Like I say, I like it, we like it, it's great, but are other people getting a bit? It's not special anymore. Yeah, if it's all the time, it's not special anymore, is it? So there's long story short, there's a show that's going to be on TV here next week or next month, and they only usually do it once a year, and it's going to be on next month. And we was like, oh, is that going to ruin it? The fact that it's on twice a year now, it is once a year.
Is this the Eurovision thing?
No,
competition. Okay.
It's not that, but yeah. So the point is that when something's on too much, is it too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, sort of thing,
I almost feel like with Marvel kind of spreading out the content a little bit, I feel like this is their way of kind of, I guess, helping themselves in a way, because they're kind of like, you know, we give you so much content that if we kind of like tighten it up a little bit, maybe it'll be more well received because people will be happier to receive, other than just like getting so much of it like all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I felt like, what was it, last year, the year before, we were getting something like all the time. Like every week we had like almost new Marvel content. Like,
Yeah. I think there was. I think didn't we work it out? There was like 12 weeks
out of the whole year.
Out of the whole year where there wasn't something new.
And that wasn't like in a straight line. That was like 12 random weeks
Yeah.
throughout the year, you know,
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah. I think like the
yeah.
biggest chunk was like a 6-week chunk where there
Mhm.
was no new content, and that was it. And other than that, there was just like you said, there was like a week or two here or there.
Mhm.
From the chat, the overload of data and the overload on wallets hurts after a while is the best way to put it. That's good, and I agree, but I don't want them to, you know, to over pivot to making it so scarce that
People
you know
forget
that
about
there's
it.
so much in between, and people aren't interested. They need to find a proper balance.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Victoria Alonso. So there's more information on her departure. Reportedly, she was fired, not by Marvel Studios. Disney fired her, not Marvel Studios. Kevin Feige was not involved in the decision, but also didn't intervene. Her termination was decided by Human Resources, Disney's legal department, and multiple executives, including Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Bergman. A source said Kevin Feige felt stuck in an impossible situation and didn't intervene. Then more came out on this, saying working on Argentina 1985 seems she has breached her contract even after she was warned about her involvement, which ended up leading to her contract termination. The breach is part of her 2018 contract that wouldn't allow employees to work for competing studios. So Amazon, it was involved in the Argentina one. Other thing has come out from her attorney saying that she clashed with Marvel over blurring gay pride references in Ant-Man 3 for Kuwait. From her attorney, Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Now she is suing Disney. So, yeah.
Anything could have happened there, couldn't it?
Yep. So
anything could have happened.
Yeah. So one thing to keep an eye on, because she was an executive producer for the longest time since the beginning, and then she switched over to running the VFX side of thing, which at first came out it was things to do with the VFX stuff, but that seemed to be false. So something to keep an eye on. Also, Marvel chairman Ike Perlmutter has been relieved of his duties at Disney. Disney has now folded Marvel Entertainment into the larger studio. Marvel Entertainment's president, Dan Buckley, will remain employed at Disney and continue to work with Kevin Feige. So I don't know what this is going to do. This could also be part of how they're switching the schedules and that kind of stuff as well. But Marvel Studios was kind of its own entity, you know, kind of ran that way and reported into Disney. Now it's a part of the whole Disney studio. So this could be a good thing. This could be a bad thing. Something to keep an eye on. You know, maybe Kevin Feige does get more power because obviously he's the main person there. But something definitely to keep an eye on as this progresses.
Lots of shifting going on.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of shifting going on. You can sense it, can't you? The fact that it's been quiet for a long time. You know, I know you're going to come to Secret Invasion in a moment, which is great, but it's been very strange, hasn't it? When you think we had that kind of overload of information, like we was just saying, Alex, last year, it was just like everything, every corner you turn, there was a new show or a new movie or a new bit of news or a new rumor, and now it's just gone really quiet, hasn't it? And I think they're kind of taking stock and just kind of going, look, where are we going to go for the next 10 years?
Well, and I feel like with like Reddit and things like this, we've seen a lot of leaks of stuff. We've seen a lot of projects like, you know, basically be talked about like the entire script almost before like it's actually even like weeks before it's even seen in a movie theater. And we just saw Marvel kind of like freak out about this because like potentially I think they feel that maybe that somehow jeopardized like the box office for Ant-Man, and you know, like that kind of was like the foundation for where they were going with this phase. It was going to kind of lay the groundwork. So I think Marvel's kind of just a little bit kind of uneasy, and they're going to probably change some things and shift some things up, and probably, I don't know, they'll probably tighten things up. You'll probably notice that like things will start to very just kind of like drip fed to us almost.
Yep.
You know, and it'll be one of those things where like we used to hear about stuff and hear rumors about stuff like really, really like often. And I think it's gonna probably stop here. You know, pretty
I think
soon.
that'd be a good thing, though.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that'd be a good thing.
From the chat here, at this point, we don't even know who is telling the truth, sadly, because people try to save face on so many levels to not get canceled these days. So, air quotes. Vision Quest. So, there hasn't really been a lot of confirmation around this, but apparently it adds writers. So, Megan McDonald and Peter Cameron are part of Vision Quest writers' room. So,
okay, interesting.
X-Men 97, showrunner Bo DeMaio. We're going to be picking up about several months after Professor X left Earth after being shot by Henry Gyrich and had to return to Shi'ar Homelord to be with Lilandra. And what ends up happening is that assassination attempt has led to this wave of increased sympathy towards mutants and understanding. So...
everyone's just going to have to go back and watch all the old X-Men cartoons to catch up on this. I was like 12 the last time I watched those.
Probably, I've watched a little bit of them, and I'll probably have to rewatch them again with my son just to get him so he's up to speed when the new cartoon comes out. Marvel Studios set up new production companies in the UK. Royal Productions UK Limited and For All Time Productions UK Limited, categorized as motion picture production activities through their SIC code. These companies are for movies and will probably spend a significant amount of time filming in the UK. Neither currently have a US counterpart. And that one All For Time Productions is interesting.
All for all time.
Yeah,
that's
for all time,
That's what they said in the TVA, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For all
but
time.
Royale Productions is interesting too as well. I wonder what that one will be.
Royal
Productions. To keep an eye on. Yeah.
Something with
No, Royale Productions.
Oh, right. Okay, so there's an E on the end of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rumor. Lucasfilm will no longer be working on an Indiana Jones series as Disney wants them to focus on Star Wars.
Wait, so like the movie?
No, the series. There's an upcoming Indiana Jones series for Disney, but that's no longer going on because they want them to focus on Star Wars, which makes sense with everything going on with Star Wars stories right now.
I feel like, just before we came on air, we was talking about Matrix, weren't we, Alex? And we were saying about that fourth movie being totally unnecessary. Like, I just feel like the 3 Indiana Jones movies that were made, back in the 80s and early 90s, that was perfect. And we were saying the same about the Matrix, weren't we? Those 3 movies that were made, I know a lot of people didn't particularly like some of the sequels or parts of the sequels, but that trilogy was perfect. They didn't need to make any more.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they needed to make any more Indiana Jones either after those 3.
They didn't, and I did not like the Crystal Skull movie when they made that movie, to be honest. Like I kind of thought that movie was really unneeded. Like, I get what they were trying to do. Like, I watch it and I'm like, but it just doesn't have the same kind of gravitas as the older Indiana Jones movies,
The best part of the Crystal Skull was basically tying back into Miriam and Raiders of the Lost Ark and kind of closing that loop. And it sounds like this new one will also tie back into things from Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. So
it's just a weird kind of dichotomy when you have one movie about him like going to find the Holy Grail and like drinking from it gives you like immortality, and then like on the other end it's like about an alien skull, aliens and stuff. It's just a weird kind of Indiana Jones like thing for me.
It's like if there was a Back to the Future 4, that's making me feel ill just thinking about Back to the Future 4. Like, why? You wouldn't need to do it. So why bother making more sequels of these movies that have got a really good trilogy already? You don't need to.
Here's a good question from the chat. How many mass extermination attempts have been attempted? There is a reason I am Team Magneto in the big picture. Legitimately asking, it's hard to keep up at this point. It is. There's been a lot.
There has been a lot. Too many to count.
Yeah. Disney has been refocusing its efforts. While they aren't scrapping Disney Plus projects, they are definitely trying to ensure that they are pushing out projects that'll ensure they can make a direct return on investment. So, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the tickets will be on sale tomorrow. According to an official listing on a ticket seller, Atom Tickets, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will have a runtime of 2 hours and 29 minutes, making it the longest film of the Guardians franchise. James Gunn confirmed some things here as well on Twitter, saying it's around that long, although that's not exact, and I promise not a second is wasted. There's no fat. It was necessary to experience the full arc for every major Guardians character, not only for this film, but for the trilogy, or I should say, trilogy plus. Maybe. So yeah, tickets go on sale tomorrow. April 28th, Marvel Legends Season 2 will have episodes 4 through 9 released ahead of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So you're going to get 5 episodes there.
Cool.
Wait, episodes 4 through 9?
Yep. So 4, 5,
5,
6, 7, 8.
8,
Oh, and
9.
6 episodes.
6 episodes.
Yeah, sorry. 6 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're going to get one for, got to be one for Quill, Rocket, Groot.
Well, they've already got Drax and Mantis out there from before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So does Gamora get one?
yeah, maybe Gamora, maybe the Ravengers one.
Nebula.
Nebula.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, so if there's 6, it's got to be Star-Lord.
Yep.
It's got to be Rocket. It's got to be Groot. Gamora, Nebula, and then one more.
Ravagers or
The
Cosmo?
Ravagers. Yeah.
And I don't think you won't get one for Cosmo. We've only seen her for about 5 minutes. And I mean, unless they do Drax again. But you say Drax is, I didn't even notice Drax's one.
Yeah, Drax and Mantis are already out there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I feel like they'll probably do Cosmos. Like if they do kill off Rocket, Cosmos will probably be his replacement, and then they'll do Cosmos like some point, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that surely will come later though, because I mean we've only seen Cosmo for about. If you take out the holiday special, we've only seen Cosmo for about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to put in a Legends episode.
Unless they're doing some other stuff to explain. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean,
go ahead.
Aren't they planning on doing like another special for Guardians or something at some point? I could be wrong about that, but I swear I thought I read that somewhere, like another kind of special next year or something. Maybe
it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
What If Season 2? Lawrence Fishburne says he's back as Bill Foster, Giant Man, in What If Season 2, while on the press circuit for John Wick 4. So it's good to see him back. I'm kind of sad there was no tie-in to him or Ava, and even they totally lost Janet's powers in Quantumania. So
yeah, that was so strange that they like made that a part of the second movie and then never even touched on it in the third movie. And we literally see people in the quantum realm who have abilities, but yet she doesn't use hers. And it's kind of weird kind of miss.
Yeah, that was the weirdest one. They definitely could save, Ava and Bill Foster for Thunderbolts, but Janet not having her powers after they made it a point in that movie was the big miss. Loki, Owen Wilson in an interview says end of summer / September. So definitely after Secret Invasion. Speaking of Secret Invasion, June 21st, there's the poster released today where they confirm the release date. It's in Disney or Disney Plus as well. Samuel Jackson on why Nick Fury has been absent from Earth. Even Nick Fury has been shaken, he's up there trying to process what the F happened, and what his place in the world is. The death of Iron Man, the death of Black Widow, with that stuff going on, he's kind of just checked out. So definitely from that funeral moment and Endgame, he's been gone. And we know from No Way or Far From Home, they were there as Skrulls and placing him. He was up in space, and so pretty much after that funeral, he checked out.
He's up in space looking for his shoes.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this show. I really can't. This is going to be good. I've got a feeling about this one. I just see the stills that they released from Vanity Fair the other day. Looks great. Really does look great. It looks like all the things that I like about most things, spy and espionage stuff.
And
I just love the idea of like the invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing where you just don't know who's going to end up being a Skrull or not. Like we could follow like a main character and think that they're a good guy this whole time. And then at the very last episode, it turns out they're a Skrull, and you never know it. And it's awesome.
And that Vanity Fair article had some nuggets in there. So
Yes.
Olivia Colman will be playing a shadowy MI6 operative. So I wonder if she'll have any ties to Union Jack at all in this series.
Yep. But MI6, that's the first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
See that. So, yeah.
There's rumors about Ross being a Skrull. Everett Ross being a Skrull. It did confirm Amelia Clark's character. So if you don't want to be spoiled, put your earmuffs on. 3, 2, 1. Amelia Clark is Talos' daughter. Last time we saw her was in Captain Marvel. It was confirmed in the article about the project. People are sad because she's not going to be Abigail Brand, but that doesn't mean anything because there's a rumor going around saying that Amelia Clark's Gia, Skrull and daughter of Talos, human name will be Nell, but she will have superpowered abilities similar to Abigail Brand. It is possible she could take up the name by the end of the show. That's the end of the spoiler, so if you're listening on this on the replay, you start listening again. The last thing about Secret Invasion is that during one of the MLB baseball games, there will be a new trailer tonight.
I've been sitting here looking.
Yeah.
We've been banging on that we're going to do a reaction video for ages, and we've never actually done one. And I was sort of thinking, I wonder if we could do one live right now tonight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be great. It just looks really good. It looks, lots of sort of seedy little bars and back alleys, and it looks really good. I'm a big Amelia Clark fan as well. I think she's great, and Ben Mendelsohn is great, and Olivia Colman's great, and Kobe Schmolders is great, and Samuel Jackson being Samuel Jackson. There's that great scene of Samuel Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn, like just sort of head to head, and they look like they're sort of embracing. That says it all for me.
Yeah, I'm still excited to see what the fallout from this is going to be and who has been long-term Skrulls. There was something going around, a rumor about Rhodey, but some of the scoopers are like, we haven't heard anything about Rhodey, and this could possibly be something we see in the finale. Rhodey actually being revealed to be a Skrull.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. Like, Skrulls have been here since the 90s in the MCU. So, we could have had somebody since the very beginning who was a Skrull, and they could have been this entire time. And it could be somebody that could be really close to everybody and the fans. And that would just be like a whoa,
Natasha.
Yeah.
This is the one way they could bring Natasha Black Widow back. If she was a Skrull this entire time, she was in some kind of like hibernation somewhere. But the person that was a Skrull didn't know it at all. She was so deep cover that didn't know that she was really a Skrull. I can see them pulling that kind of twist on us.
That's what I want to see. I want to see that as well. I want to see that sort of that person who's been so deep undercover that they've forgotten that they're a Skrull, and that then they're told that they're a Skrull. And this is where I think Don Cheadle could pull that off really, really well. That turmoil in his mind, of thinking, no, I am James Rhodes. I know I'm James Rhodes, and it's like, no, actually, you're not. This is who you were before you signed up to this program 30 years ago or whatever it was.
And they could very well do something with like Natasha, where it goes all the way back to like Budapest, which I thought that they didn't really pay off, to where like she was switched out like back at Budapest. So Clint like really did love that Natasha that died at Vormir, because that's the Natasha he's always known. But all his history with Natasha is pretty much just like because it's like it wasn't that Natasha, it was a Skrull that he spent all this time with.
And maybe it was kind of like the end of Budapest. That's why in the Black Widow movie, Budapest was kind of glazed over and not as in depth during that movie. That could be why as well. But back to Rhodey, what'll be cool is if it ends up being Rhodey in the finale, there's a flashback to between Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, where they switched out actors for Rhodey, and that before we see him walking into that congressional hearing with Tony, we see the Skrull turn into Don Cheadle. That would be actually an amazing moment right there if they did something like that, to tie that back into the actor switch, but him being a Skrull pretty much since Iron Man 2.
Yeah, that would be awesome. What if Happy Hogan was a Skrull?
I could see that too.
That would be, and I mean, he's kind of been Tony Stark's right-hand man and been forehead of security for so long that, like he's kind of been in everything, so he's been there since the beginning too.
Pepper Potts would be another prime one to be a Skrull, especially with her being in charge of Stark Industries now. And this probably leading to Secret Wars.
But then her and Tony had a kid.
Yeah,
but
true.
she could have been switched out after they had the kid.
Yeah,
You know, like
after in game.
imagine like she has the kid and it's like in 2020 or something, Pepper was snatched and switched out, you know, and for the last 3 years or something, it's not actually been Pepper.
Yeah, it would make bigger impact though if it was since the beginning. But yeah, the kid thing does throw a wrinkle in that.
Yeah.
Unless I don't know, the kid to scroll too.
That would be interesting.
Came out green.
What was that movie? It was a movie or a series, like one of those horror things where the lady was ended up being a gargoyle, and the human guy didn't note it, and they had kids together, and something happened. I know
exactly what you're
and
talking about.
The
they
lady
fly
and
out the window.
Yeah, and the lady and the kids turned to gargoyles as well and bounce. It was some like one of those horror shows or something. I can't remember what it was.
Tales of the Crypt or something. Like that.
Yeah.
Some weird.
Story they did that with Pepper and Morgan.
There's a really strange movie called Eraserhead. If you've never seen it, watch Eraserhead. But the guy, there's some weird stuff going on there in that movie with pregnancy and weird things being born. But yeah.
All right, moving on. New World Order. Betty Ross is back, ladies and gentlemen, and Liv Tyler is reprising her role. There's been set pics that are out there of a funeral scene, which includes Liv Tyler's Betty Ross and Anthony Mackie, Sam Williams, and others. It does look like Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson is in a sling, though. So it makes you wonder, is this a fake funeral? Something happens to President Ross, and they think he's dead, but he's not really dead, and he's the Red Hulk now.
I think
exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, I reckon because he's pretty much dying, isn't he?
Yep.
He's got to kill off that public persona of himself. You know,
exactly.
Kill himself off.
Yeah, but look, the Red Hulks are now emerged. I wonder who that could be.
Yeah. I have a question for you, though. Depending where this is in the movie, and if Sam does have, he's injured somehow, whether it's early on in the movie or at the end, do you think Sam ends up taking a super soldier serum, not because he wants to, but because he has to? Because there's a rumor I'm going to talk about here in a minute that could lead to this being why.
I'm just wondering, because somebody brought this up on the group the other day, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Matt Parker, I'm not sure, but he said like, how can Sam throw that shield around like Cap did all that time without any super soldier serum? Like, that shield is strong enough to like take people's arms off. Maybe that's what he's done. Maybe his arm is busted from throwing the shield around so much. So that's what maybe encourages him to take some serum.
But that's the arm that he carries, the shield, and he would take it off and throw it with the right. One, yes. Yeah, maybe. So like I think he definitely takes the serum in this movie, because like if we have Hulks and we have the leader and stuff coming about, he's gonna be in one of these situations where he's gonna be like, I was trying to be this type of person, this type of Captain America, the one that I thought the world needed, but the world needs a super soldier right now. I need the serum. I can't do this without it. And I hate to jeopardize my morals here, but I'm gonna go against what I've kind of stood against this whole time. I'm gonna take the serum, and Sam's gonna need it. I mean, he's got the vibranium suit, but he, needs, and he's got the vibranium shield, but he needs some help here, unfortunately. And I think that this is going to be at the end of this movie where he's got the sling. And I think that's because what happens to Sam at the end of this movie probably is the same thing that they probably did to John Walker, which is where he had the shield on his arm and somebody breaks his arm with the shield on it, like what they did to John. And because, John Walker had his arm in a sling as well, very similar. And so Sam will probably just heal right up after a week of having the super soldier serum, no problem. Boom, he'll be right back to normal. But I would imagine he takes the serum and is probably badly hurt.
Do you think another one could be where it's by accident, like we saw with the Tim Blake and the Hulk, where he has a cut and he gets some blood or that kind of stuff and exposed, and the whole time he's conflicting about it as well? Could that be another scenario?
No, I've already seen that twice now, haven't we? We saw it with Jen in She-Hulk, and if the leader's back, we've seen it again with him. I think to see it again with Sam, it'll be like, we've seen this.
Yeah, true. By the way, he is packed because set pics show him, and part of his arm is green.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
yeah. So we know that we're going to see the actual leader in this film. So let's get to rumor time for this movie. Reportedly, the rumor is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus will be back as Val in this film. Will appear as Val in this film. Jeff Snyder, one of the insiders, has said, "I've heard that she's in the movie in New World Order, working along 5 other villains to form the group the Serpent Society, and their main mission is to obtain a special metal that is not vibranium." So, is this anti-metal? Is this adamantium, or what else could it be?
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting.
And we're finally closing that loop with Serpent Society.
Yeah.
or the celestial metal, whatever that is.
Tiamat.
Yeah. So they could go and try and mine that if they chose to do so. Because they did, you know, like Cersei actually changed his composition when she stopped him from emerging. So we don't actually know what she changed him into. So he could be some kind of new metal, like adamantium or something.
Yeah. I wonder if they're gonna go the whole anti-metal route with him.
They could. I
mean,
isn't
that from the comics too? There wasn't that for that mountain? Didn't they have anti-metal? I thought. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, like, we know that how important that the celestial body is because we've seen Nowhere be mined. Yep. So, like, you know, we already know like how precious those resources are, and now Earth has like part of one sticking out of its crust. So, you know, like, it's like, come on.
Yeah. Daredevil Born Again. Vincent D'Onofrio states that Daredevil Born Again will be as brutal and violent as the Netflix series. So,
believe it when I see it.
Yeah, same.
We've heard this time and time again. I'm not moaning. I'm not moaning at all. But you know, we heard this with Moon Knight, and we had these same discussions. And like I say, I'm not having a go. I'm not being negative, but I just we'll see. After rewatching the Netflix series recently and seeing Punisher kill that guy at the end of his series, I'm like, not a chance. Not a chance.
At least not on screen.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there's more rumblings of White Tiger being in this series as well. I'm starting to see more chatter on that, so something to keep an eye on.
Awesome. Speaking of violence, I've just watched the first 2 John Wick movies, and that's great. They're really good. I really love the choreography in there. The way that he uses his guns is really really cool. You know, and he's got a very distinct style that flows throughout all of his action sequences. I mean, you know, you can talk about the story. There's not really much of a story. It's quite simple, isn't it? But you know, the action sequences and the way that he's got a, like I say, he's got a persona, a fight persona. It's very cool and very violent.
It's funny. I was actually watching part of Daredevil recently, and I was watching that scene where it's got the blind guy and he's singing and he's sitting in the car, and Daredevil pops out and he like is fighting somebody, and they grab a gun and he disarms the guy and drops the magazine out of the gun and takes the magazine and throws it at the other guy and hits him dead in the middle of the forehead and like knocks him out. I'm like, dude, like that is just insane. But it's like that John Wick kind of like fight style. That, like, you know, it's that kind of same choreography almost, but you know, it's awesome.
I tell you, talking about guns and fight styles, do you remember? Have you seen Equilibrium?
Yes,
with Christian Bale. It's kind of a take on sort of 1984, I guess. But there's a great style of fighting, and they call it something in the movie actually, where they like fight with their guns, and they like. This is going to sound really rubbish, but they like punch with their guns. They don't punch with their guns, but they do movements with their guns, and that's really cool. And they actually talk about it in the movie. That's great as well. Almost a little bit of a mix between John Wick and Wanted, I guess, where he basically curved the bullets. Yeah.
Wonder Man news. Demetrius Grosset has been cast as the Grim Reaper. It's now official. It's rumored for a while. So we're going to have the brothers in this series where Grim Reaper was teased in WandaVision. So it's good to them to kind of close that loop too as well. Ed Harris reportedly has joined the cast as well.
It's awesome.
So Ed Harris has got to be getting on a little bit now, hasn't he?
60s.
Got at least, if not older than that. But yeah.
Cool. Has Bob Odenkirk been rumored at all anymore for Wonder Man at all?
It's still rumors right now. I don't know if it's official, but it does sound like Ed Harris might be the villain if he is in the series.
Ooh,
so Deadpool 3, there was worries about Dopinder and his roommate were not going to be back, but Karan Soni and Leslie Uggams will return for the movie. So
I'm so happy to have Blonde
Yeah, me
Alonso
too,
Pinder
yeah.
back. I love that scene where he is like, "Did you have enough courage to change the napkin dispenser?" You know, like so funny.
we also have a new casting. Matthew McFadden has been cast in the film in a secret role, and it sounds like he could potentially play a TVA agent who will have a major role that is being kept under wraps. So
What were they? With some of the TVA, was it like Justice, Peace, and Justice? I don't know, something or other. The Justice is people. He might be one of those agents.
yeah, maybe.
That'd be cool.
Some Fantastic Four news. Josh Friedman, one of the scribes behind upcoming Avatar 4, Snowpiercer, Tom Cruise-led War of the Worlds, and Terminator franchise, the Sarah Connor Chronicles and Dark Fate, is now penning a new draft of Fantastic Four.
I saw
So,
I saw something on Facebook or somewhere earlier on, and it said it was just one of these quotes. It said Avatar 2 writer
yeah.
to rewrite Fantastic Four, and someone's comment was Avatar 2 had a writer.
But it's funny too because Josh Friedman actually went to social media and said, "I did not write Avatar 2. I am writing Avatar 4." And then someone was posting about Avatar 4. It sounds like there's been really good news about that script, from that script. Not a lot of corrections to that script. So,
Right.
But seeing what he's done, Snowpiercer, doing Avatar, War of the World, Terminator franchise, a lot of big sci-fi stuff in this theme. And I hope they do the Lost in Space theme with Fantastic Four. So Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer were the previous writers on the project. Friedman's hire signals a potential change in tone. Kaplan and Springer are known mostly for the comedic work, while Friedman is a veteran hand in sci-fi, adventure, and world building. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. Shang-Chi, Simu on potential sequel. Going into a sequel feels exciting. It doesn't necessarily feel like there's a pressure to perform or a pressure to exceed. It feels like we've established a world, and there's something really nostalgic and exciting about returning to the world that we spent so much time ideating on and thinking about. And then we're going to revisit some things, but also the viewer new things. Will deliver all the amazing action that we're celebrated for on the first movie, but then also hopefully explore new sides of Sean's character and the characters around him. That is, of course, if we can still afford Michelle Yeoh. She's on top of the world and just the queen of everything. Now, I hope, with them mentioning the ancient cities of heaven, that we somehow get Iron Fist introduced to this series.
Kunlun.
And Kunlun, yes, because you kind of threw that tease out there, and Kunlun is one of those ancient cities. So, do something.
Well, it makes sense too with the dragons, because we just saw the dragon, the ancient protector, in Shang-Chi. So, and we know that's supposedly one of the 7 mystical cities, right?
Yep.
So, if every mystical city has a dragon, and then you have Iron Fist who defeats Shao-Lao the Undying to get the power of the Iron Fist, that would be awesome. Nice little tie there, and it could make Shang-Chi's people as well aware of the Iron Fist and potentially have history that go back, to other cities,
like they're allies.
Yeah, basically, all 7 of the mystical cities are allies, basically, but they just don't really fraternize. But if they need to, they can all come together, and they could also kind of do. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could technically probably do Karmatage part of the mystical cities if they chose to do so. I don't know if that would really fit well, but maybe in the MCU they could, And
also, it'd be interesting to see what they do with his sister Xiling, and also the 10 Rings organization as well, since she took that over with Taser Fist or Laser or
Razor Fist.
Razor Fist. I was going to say Taser Face, Laser Fist.
That's from Dodgeball.
Yeah,
when he's talking about his team.
Laser.
So that'll be interesting to see how they tuck that back in and where that organization is going, since we saw them also in Miss Marvel as well. Moving on to non-Marvel stuff, X-Files. Ryan Coogler is eyeing X-Files reboot at Disney with a diverse cast. So,
loved a bit of X-Files.
Yeah,
back in the day.
The Batman. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
A bit of Mulder and Scully. That's brilliant.
Are they going to bring them back though, or do a whole new reboot on it though? That'd be interesting.
David, I can't. You know, funnily enough, I can't talking about Ben Stiller. I can't take David Duchovny serious anymore after his appearance in Zoolander as the hand model.
Who's the
Or the
hand?
glass.
Yeah, he's got a hand on it. Was his JP or JB someone or other or JP someone? He goes, "You're the famous hand model." Brilliant.
Alex's favorite here, the Batman. So there's talk about Batman 2. Reportedly, Clayface will play heavily into the project.
Mhm.
So
I'm excited for that because I've heard Mr. Freeze be rumored for that movie. I've heard Clayface, and you know, the first movie had tons of villains in it, so it was kind of like a plethora of villains. And I think in that movie, if you have Clayface and Mr. Freeze, you may end up with a Mr. Freeze potentially switching sides in the end, helping Batman defeat Clayface, because like in the Arkham games, Batman gets the technology from Freeze to stop Clayface. So like it's like one of those things where Batman's like, I need to freeze him to make him stop changing forms. So Freeze is like, here you go, helps him out, because like it'll be one of those things where it'll be like Clayface is basically destroying the city, and this is probably going to keep Freeze's wife from being able to survive being in cryogenics. And so if she dies, then Freeze is upset. So Freeze is like, stop him, Batman. Here, take this.
I like that. Yeah.
You know, I think that'd be an awesome way to kind of put the end to it, you know?
More DC news, Blue Beetle. So today there was a teaser that says the trailer will drop tomorrow for Blue Beetle. There is some short footage out there of it to when he actually gets the beetle and it kind of initially becomes the Blue Beetle. And that footage looks really good. So I'm kind of excited about the Blue Beetle movie.
I'm so excited for this movie. Have they said if any of the previous Blue Beetles will be in it, like Ted Kord or Dan Garrett or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
Okay, cool. Because you know, it's really funny. The guy who actually has the beetle before him, the scarab wouldn't work for him like it does for Jaime Reyes. So like seeing him get the scarab and everything, I love the costume. I love how like even on the costume, it's got like the scarab's legs like around him, like oh man, it looks just like the comics. It is so awesome, amazing suit.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't put this trailer in with Shazam, Fear of the Gods. You know.
Yeah.
You know what? On that, I'm not surprised at any of that anymore.
Okay.
When was the last time? When was the last time you saw a trailer premiere at the cinema? I can't remember when it happened.
It was No Way Home with the Multiverse of Madness at the closing in. I think it was the last one I can think of.
At the very end, yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Trailers are released online before they're released in the movie theater now, and then sometimes they're released in like that if it's at the end, if it's the end scene. But they don't release them in front of movies anymore, not for the first time.
Do you think that's maybe intentional for them to be able to gauge how many people are watching them, and rather than just putting them all in like say movie trailers and on commercials on TV, they can just release them online and see how quick the response is.
Yep.
You get 20 million people who are looking at a trailer in the first 24 hours, you have massive excitement for this movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, although that doesn't necessarily always translate into then box office success, does it? Because I'm sure that the Quantum Mania trailer got ridiculous views in the first like 24 hours or whatever it was, and obviously it hasn't done. I don't think it's done as well as what they expected it to do in the theater.
I mean, I think they expected that to be $1 billion movie, like going into. I think so. I think that was kind of a long shot, to be honest. I think that was probably their ideal. I mean, you have to think that this was an Ant-Man movie. Ant-Man movies don't normally perform like exceedingly well. They never have. So the first one did like $500 and some million. The second one did like $600 and some million. So I think that they thought putting Kang in this would be like something where it's like you got Ant-Man, you got Kang. This is just going to fill the seats, you know? But a lot of casual fans don't know Kang that well, and Ant-Man movies don't normally perform that well. So you kind of have that like kind of working against this film, and that's kind of what we have seen kind of happen, I think.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit.
Yeah. 750 should have been probably like their goal, seeing that 500, 600 something. 750 would have probably been the goal, but I wonder how much that script leak hurt things, and you can see why Marvel's taking action for it. So
and I mean, streaming services too. Like you're going to see this movie on a streaming service in 2-3 months. And I know people who are like, why am I going to go to the movie theaters when I can just wait for my for it to be on my streaming service at home. Like,
Mm.
I'll just wait for it at home. Like, I don't need to go out and go see it right now.
If you're not
Like-
going to see it in the first 3 weeks, then you might as well wait, because 3 or 4 weeks after that, you're probably going to see it on a streaming service. But I'm wondering how much those early poor critics reviews damaged it for the
Mhm.
general audience. It wouldn't. I don't think it would have made much of a difference for Marvel fans, comic book movie fans, pop culture, fans. But I think for general audiences, if they saw critics reviews that were poor, they may have chosen to not go and watch it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
true. I just think that at some point they're going to have to adjust the way they release movies and probably do what they did with Black Widow, but make it more expensive to do that. Like
Mhm.
$100. if you want to get early viewing and watch it on Disney Plus at home, or whatever that platform is going to be, HBO Max or whoever, $100, then there you go. You can watch the comfort of your own home.
And I agree with you on that. They either need to do that or they need to go completely the opposite extreme. And that's like not put movies that are in theaters on Disney Plus for like 6 months after they're
6
released.
months at least.
And if they do that, then that'll make people show up to the theaters, because people will be like, man, I don't want to wait. Like it would be like back in the day when you used to go see a movie in theaters and then would have to wait like 3 to 6 months to get it in the store on DVD or Blu-ray. It's the same kind of ideal.
Yeah, I think they should do that, to be totally honest. I think that's the better option, otherwise we're going to lose our theaters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some are losing them anyways, right? Some are still closing
they are,
down.
Yeah, they are. So Cineworld is my local theatre, and I know it went bankrupt in the States, didn't it, a couple of months ago, and they've just announced that they're going to be closing a lot of cinemas. I don't know whether our one's going to be closing, but then there's another big complex that was built prior to COVID, and the company that were supposed to be going into there have been dragging their heels, and they've been kind of sort of sitting there going, we don't really want to do this now, but I think they kind of committed to it and they kind of have to. But
last bit of news here for you Scott Pilgrim fans. Netflix is bringing back the cast of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World for its anime series. Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and the rest of the gang are coming back in animated form. Anime studio Science Saru will be helming the revival, and Brian Lee O'Malley, who created the original comic, will serve as the writer and executive producer alongside Edgar Wright, who directed the live-action film, and Ben David Grabinski. So it sounds like they're doing a nice whole reunion of this, and they're going to have an anime series. I'm looking forward to it. We still watch the movie all the time. I crack up laughing still all the time. They had the video game, they had the movie, they had the comic. So yeah, I hope they keep going with it.
Yeah, I'm going to have a rewatch of that movie. I quite like that the first time I watched it. I think my boys quite like that, actually. Yeah.
And that's all I have for the news. So the last segment we have left today is going to be the last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian.
Excellent. I was speaking to Mark and Rob, our sort of resident Star Wars nerds in our group, and about this show, and I'm quite enjoying it. It's not got the same overarching hard-hitting story that the first 2 seasons have had, but I think some of the set pieces and some of the moments in this series, this latest season, have been really, really touching and really memorable as well. I'm really enjoying. I think the action sequences are absolutely outrageous. They're so good, really, really good. And the way that they've captured the flying scenes. I recently watched, I think I said, didn't I, a couple of weeks ago, that I'd watched Top Gun Maverick, and it's like watching that, but just with a person flying instead, in a Mandalorian suit. They're great, really, really great, really loving it. The last 2 episodes, what have we had? We had the episode where they went and saved the youngling from the funny bird thing. That was a fun short episode, only 27 minutes, I think, that one. It's quite easy to get that one in. Yeah. And then this last one we've had. Oh no, actually, I think we haven't discussed the episode where we saw the reformed Empire people either.
Didn't we discuss that with Mark and Jimmy, or no?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. Maybe we did.
How many episodes are we in now with Mandalorian? Are we 4 episodes in now, or 5?
5, I think.
Oh, maybe we didn't discuss. We did the first 2 with Mark and Jamie. So yeah. So I guess we can do 3 episodes today of of Mandalorian. So yeah. Let's go back to the new Empire. So
yeah, they got those reformed Empire, and there was a great, actually, a little thing that somebody said in the latest episode to the girl. They said, you didn't change sides, you just got caught.
Yep.
You know, so I thought that was a really great way of, pointing out that we shouldn't trust you people. Like, you just didn't have an option.
Yep.
It wasn't that you decided to sort of see the light and become good. You just got caught and didn't have anywhere else to go.
Which I don't think she actually was reformed, because look at that episode 3 where she definitely baited that guy into going into the old Star Destroyer ship and getting that technology about all the cloning stuff and so forth, and then the way she turned up his reprogramming thing in that, and then jumped to this latest episode when they're asking to get reinforcements and help for the one planet, and she's like, yeah, and she's all being all sneaky and sinister and kind of like they haven't signed the charter yet. They're kind of the Outer Rim type thing. Let them fall, almost like she wants whoever's still out there, the next big bad, whether it's Moff Gideon or Thrawn or whoever's coming, to be able to start picking off those planets one by one in conjunction with the pirates.
Yeah.
So
she's definitely being shady there.
Yep.
Definitely being shady, and she's almost being like too goody, isn't she? As well. That's exactly what her game was in that episode 3, where she sort of thought, oh, if I can dob this guy in, grass him up, and make me look good and get me on side.
Do you think that's the last we've seen of that guy, or somehow we see him again, or do you think he's pretty much toast now after that intense reprogram that she pumped it up all the way?
Well, when we first saw him, and when he first said what his speciality was, which was in cloning, I was assuming that she was going to try and recruit him so that they could recruit him to clone the Emperor.
Yep.
Which is what we saw in the sequel trilogy. But obviously, I don't know, now that she's fried him completely. Maybe she will try and now just sort of persuade him to come back to the Empire. I'm not sure.
Yeah, how much is he really fried in that?
Yeah, exactly.
Reprogramming.
Yeah, or what does it mean now that he is? Can she reprogram him the other way?
Yeah, to go back to the Empire side. So
yeah.
It was interesting how she kind of baited him in, built the trust, got that kind of stuff, and then got him caught. So the whole bait and switch there.
Yeah, she's cool, that girl though, that plays that character, because she was obviously the leader of the Resistance in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yep.
And she was in Z Nation as well for the last 2 or 3 seasons, I think, or last 2 seasons she was in that. So I quite like her. I think she's quite good. So that was interesting. But and then we've got the sort of Bo-Katan now has made this kind of complete turn in the last couple of episodes. Yeah, I think she might have done, and I'm really enjoying her character. I think there's something else going on with the blacksmith lady.
Yes. There's definitely some trickery going on there, Bo-Katan. Remember when we first saw her, she was by herself in her castle, saying the others have gone off. There was some kind of issue between them, and they've gone off on their own. And then at first I thought she was leading Din Djarin into a trap when he went back to Mandalore. But then she comes save him, and I wonder if part of her plan was to gain that trust for him to take her back to the, with the whole saving of the youngling and the blacksmith and that kind of stuff. And then you kind of see that at the end of this episode, they want her to remove her helmet, which is against their ways. They're basically a cult. All intents and purposes, Mandalorians are a cult. Especially the old school ones like that, where the blacksmith calls her in, about the forge, and they're, blah, 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 and this and that. Have her take her helmet off. You've walked in both worlds, and they both kind of come out, while none of the Mandalorians think anything about it. But then you see the fleet out there, and he finds the ship that Moff Gideon was supposedly transported on, and they found Beskar, a piece of Beskar on that ship. So I'm thinking either one of two things is happening here, right? The conflict that she had with the others, why she was alone, there's something more there with this, right? Either she has Moff Gideon or knows where he is, and the others didn't disagree and took off on her, or the others have Moff Gideon and know where he is, and she didn't agree, and they separated. Something with that whole thing right there when she was sitting there by herself, there's something going on there. But if she's against them, why didn't she say anything about Moff Gideon? Why is she kind of keeping that card, close to the vest there? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to how this builds up. And is it Moff Gideon? Is it Thrawn? who's the big bad here that's going to be revealed at the end of this season. I'm looking forward to.
I reckon the blacksmith, as he's working with the other Mandalorians that Bo-Katan was with. I reckon that's what's going on, and Bo-Katan doesn't know that.
Okay.
But yeah, she's up to something. That blacksmith one.
Yeah.
I mean that's she's a bit weird. She's been up to something from day one, I think.
Or did it change because that when Bo-Katan told the blacksmith that she saw the mythosaur, that all of a sudden that's kind of make her, that maybe the blacksmith wants to be in charge of all the Mandalorians in Mandalore.
Yeah, potentially. I'll tell you what else was fun, which I haven't seen a great deal of him personally, but my son was like, "Oh wow!" and it was seeing Zeb, who's one of the characters from Rebels, coming over into the show only for a few moments, but he went, "Oh, that must be there." Don't say his name, but he said it sounds just like him, looks just like him, act just like him. So they were really excited about that. And now I've got the task of watching the entirety of the Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch in order. I think it's going to take me the next 2 years to catch up with that. But apparently, a lot of Rebels is going to play out in the Ahsoka series. That's what Mark and Rob were both telling me, that they think that's going to be quite important to that. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that show. And I'm really enjoying how they're mixing, the old cartoons, so the Clone Wars and Rebels, and bringing in characters to these programs, like Ahsoka, like Bo-Katan, like Zeb. I think it's great that we're getting these crossovers between cartoons and live action shows and movies and previous little nuggets that they've dropped in there. There was a great one in the first season of Mandalorian, which I didn't know. A friend of mine is a collector, and he said that there was a moment where a load of troopers turn up in a trooper carrier. Moff Gideon's trying to shoot him out of the bar that they're in, and a load of troopers turn up and they get out of this carrier, and the carrier was a toy back in the early 80s, which never featured in any of the movies. But they released this toy, I think around the time of Empire Strikes Back, and everyone that got this toy, all the kids that got this toy, was like, "Where the hell is this from? Like, we've not seen this at all in either Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back, and you've released this weird carrier toy," and everyone just didn't really think much of it. And the next time it appears is in season 1 of The Mandalorian, like a couple of years ago. And then, so there's my friend who's a little bit older, he's sort of in his 50s. He said, me and my brother were like, it's the carrier, it's the carrier.
I love it when they do stuff like that. It's such an awesome, retro kind of tie to things,
Retro nod. I love it. Yeah, I love it. But yeah, I think I'm not bothered about the fact that it's not got a big overarching story. I really like these. It's almost like Tales of the Mandalores. I think it's great that you see in these small little moments where you get these tiny little stories. Like the one where they went and saved the youngling. It meant nothing really, apart from Bo-Katan being kind of redeemed and sort of performing that
gain the trust and
gaining the trust. But other than that, it didn't really play much into the story, not the overarching story. But it was a nice little moment, a nice little sort of 27 minutes of here's a little mission that we went on, and it was really entertaining. So.
And now it's helping out what's the planet they're on now? I'm going blank here on the name of the planet they're on with Carl Weathers' character.
Navarro.
Yeah, Navarro. They've got a nice plot of land on Navarro where they'll be safe and they can kind of start recouping and growing the Mandalorians, but then trying to go back, and the blacksmith saying we're going to retake Mandalore. So that's interesting as well, especially what they know that it's inhabitable. They can rebuild.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Lastly, before we come off tonight, we also missed. We also haven't spoken about. You're both coughing at the same time.
Yawning.
We saw a little flashback to Order 66.
Yep.
In the last episode, and we saw Grogu getting saved from the Jedi Temple by the same actor playing who voiced Jar Jar Binks.
Yep.
As a Jedi, which was great to see, and he was cool as well.
Yeah,
he was really cool. But that was interesting as well, because since Ahsoka spoke to Grogu in season 2, we've kind of, she said, oh, he got rescued from the Jedi Temple, but we don't know, like someone got him out, and you don't know who it was, and that was fleshed out again there. A little bit of exposition. It's nice. I like those little bits of exposition. Just like, this is what happened. It took 5 minutes to tell us that.
Yeah.
And that's a great build.
It'd been cool. It'd been cool to kind of see Samuel Jackson's Mace Windu be the one at the elevator there to kind of get him out before his ultimate device, because we never know what happened to Mace Windu, right? And apparently he could pop up at any moment now. So, but I guess something that big wouldn't be in that kind of moment. I guess it would be in a bigger moment, like at a series finale or something.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Or season finale, I should say.
Yeah, we shall see.
Have you seen the meme of the pirate leader and the one main pirate they keep showing of those two together in the side-by-side picture of Pizza the Hut and his partner? There's a meme going around saying same energy right here.
They are similar. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They were that was my only gripe with those pirates, like how piratey they were. Like they steered their massive Star Destroyer ship with a wheel. I was like, there was part of me that was like, this is cool, and there was another part of me that was like, this is so cheesy, But like, why would they have those kind of pirates in space? But
I don't know.
It was fun.
There's a DC character like that, and he was like a space pirate, but he was like a pirate like 4 billion years ago. And I'm like, there is a space pirate in space 4 billion years ago, like he's like billions of years old. Okay, I hear you.
He's got a wooden leg.
Yeah.
And a hook for a hand. It was quite comical, but fun nonetheless, and good to see him take that. The way they sort of coordinated that attack as well in that last episode was brilliant. They were so streamlined in what they did and how they attacked, and how they sort of completely blasted through the city and blasted through the ships. It was great. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to the last couple of episodes actually.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the pirates were just like a one-off thing, or just some kind of red herring, or if they're actually tied to someone like Thrawn or Moff Gideon or who were trying to rebuild the Empire.
They're kind of been used. They've been using them to kind of destabilize cities and planets.
Yep, especially the outer ones where they know that the New
Republic aren't
getting the New Republic aren't going to have time, because most of them probably aren't signing the charter. They're probably not buying into the New Republic's vision, and so they're like, oh, those can do it. But as the one pilot said, they start there, and by the time it comes to here, it's going to be too late. And that's interesting that he was doing that investigation. And then we saw at the end of the episode with the Moff Gideon's transport and finding the best car.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you wonder is that going to cause them to start some kind of conflict with the Mandalorians this next episode?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they wrap this up, because I'm pretty sure there's only 1 or 2 episodes left now.
It's 6, isn't it? Or 7?
Yeah, I think if it's 6, there's only 1 left.
Let me look at Disney Plus real quick here.
Would it tell you?
Does it tell you?
I don't think so.
Maybe it doesn't.
I don't think it would. But
okay.
But I mean, either way, there's got to only be a couple of episodes left. Even if there's 9, there's still only 3 or 4 episodes left, and they haven't told much of a story yet. But not that I'm bothered. Like I say, I'm enjoying the singular stories, the singular episodes. They don't have to go anywhere for me. I'm enjoying just sort of watching these short sort of tales of the Mandalorians. So it's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you, but we're 5 episodes in, so
yeah,
it's gotta be 7 or 8 then.
We will see. Let's wrap it up there tonight, guys. We've had a hell of a long conversation, but we've made up for 2 weeks of not being around. So we'll put a pin in it for tonight. Jarian, where can these guys catch us?
Yep, you can find us on Twitter, the live stream, and unfortunately we still can't see the Twitter chat. So if you're wanting to get involved, migrate over to Twitch, to YouTube, to Trovo, or YouTube, where we can see the chat, or the Facebook page along with the Facebook group. Comics Evolved for all those, no matter which platform you're on. But again, if you're on Twitch, YouTube, Trovo, the Facebook page, or the Facebook group, you can see the chat, or we can see the chat, interact with you. If you're on Twitter, we can't see the chat, unfortunately.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Alex, take care. Jarian, take care. See you next time.
Have
See
a
you
good
guys.
one.